Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle. I'm one of the grant analysts in GCA, and welcome to our GCA Forum. Some quick reminders. Please make sure you're muted to reduce background noise. And most importantly, just know that this meeting is for you. We're hoping to share information that we've learned over the months. We know it's really difficult right now, so please ask a lot of questions and put them in the chat, and we'll do our best to get to them during the presentation. So a quick overview of today's agenda. First, we have some updates from GCA to be followed by an overview of award structures and Workday. We're going to go over NIH SNAP Awards, HRSA Awards, multi-year fixed amount awards, and multi-year milestone awards. So first up, the updates from GCA from Cheryl.
Hey everybody, this is Cheryl. I just kind of wanted to first of all, thank you all for joining us. We know we're hoping this is a really good use of your time. And from all of us at GCA, we just want to thank you so much for your continued patience and grace. We are slowly working our way through each of the new processes, and I am kind of figuring that we're not alone, that all y'all out there are also trying to figure out the new processes, and it kind of feels like we're playing a little bit of a game of rush hour where you try to move a car just a little bit to make room for that next car to move a little bit. So I wanted to give you a State of the Union from GCA. The first process of ours that went live was the award setup team. And so as it stands today, we have a backlog of over 800 items that have come in to us from Sage. We're kind of getting through about 30 to 50 each day. And when I say we're getting through, that means we're looking at them and we're having to return a lot because, information might be missing, the kinds of things that totally make sense because nobody really understood how the system worked. It's also a shameless plug for me to say I think that today's forum is going to be incredibly valuable because Vince is going to talk about how the structure is in Workday, which we hope is going to help all of us. The second processing stream that we had go live is the invoicing. They were going to start at the beginning of August, and we ran into a lot of things that stopped us from processing. And so we got a few of the manual invoices out, and we're continuing to troubleshoot the issues and looking for ways to improve and get us back on track where we should be with the invoicing process. Up next is going to be reporting, getting out those financial reports. Turns out, as expected, we're pulling information from two different systems, and we're trying to coordinate to make sure we're getting the right amount or the right amounts for the reports and in the right categories, because we used to have object codes and now we have spend categories. And so we're really having to do a lot of translation to get those reports out. So they are delayed. Our final process is the closing team, which is where we usually close out, in the old days, budgets, but now award lines. And that has been on hold. We're just not there yet. And so you might wonder what kind of things that would impact. And that is your surplus transfers, that is your refunds out to sponsors. And so we're really hoping that in September, the closing team will be able to start processing some of the backlog we have there. So that is how things sit in GCA. There's a lot. That's a lot. So I am going to, unless there's any questions for me about how much fun we're having.
Yeah, we do have a question about all the fun. So the question from Alyssa Camp is, do you have an ETA for when invoicing will start up again and/or suggested language that we can share with funders who are asking for invoices?
So what we're saying, that's a really great question, and thank you. So what we're saying is that we're just saying what the deal is, which is that we just recently switched to a new financial system and that we're still working out bugs, and we're trying and this is for all y'all to know, we are trying really hard for every single one of our processes. And it may not feel like it because the progress is slow. But we're just saying that to our sponsors, because people will be like, hey, well, where's my invoice? And we're like, we're so sorry. We're hoping to be able to get that out. And we're trying not to give a date because we don't know when it's going to start flowing and going. But my hope is that by next week or in the next couple weeks, we're going to have ironed out enough that we can send out some invoices.
Okay, we have some additional questions. From Khalid Mohammed, we have, since closeout has been on hold, has that been communicated to federal and non-federal sponsors on this delay due to UWFT?
I don't know. I don't think we have let the federal sponsors know. I mean,
maybe it's just me. I would think that that would be more of an internal process, and the stuff that would impact sponsors would be like the invoicing and the reporting, which is handled in the other streams.
Yeah. And you know what, the late reports, that's going to impact our federal sponsors. But not as, I don't think we're in any kind of trouble yet.
Hopefully that answers your question, Khalid. If you have additional things, you can add that and I'll update it. For the next one, we have a question from Catherine Wicks. Are sponsor payments up to date in award portal, or is there backlog in that area?
Oh. Okay, so that's a different team. We used to sort of be a little bit more integrated, but the cash team's really kind of moved into its own group. They're doing more than grant payments. We call them all the cash queens. They did have a pretty good backlog because they were not able to process payments for all of July, but I know they've been working on it and they have made a lot of progress. So I don't know the actual status of, like, are they through everything? I know that I'm seeing emails where they're asking for invoices so that they can apply cash. So I know they're making a lot of progress on that. Their team is expanded and they're getting through. I think they're getting through some stuff, but I can't confirm or deny that they're all the way through.
All right, there don't seem to be any other additional questions in the chat, so maybe we can move on, and if we have more, I will read them out.
Jonathan?
Next up, we have the Award Structures and Workday by Vince Gonzalez, who's the Associate Director of Grant and Contract Accounting.
Thanks, Michelle. Good morning, everyone. So just to level set, so we are going to be going through 4 more or less standard award structures and kind of show the unique elements of each of them. And then my goal is to kind of do a little bit of a crosswalk between what we saw, or how the setup mechanisms that we saw within our prior state. So within FAS, and then crosswalk that to our new award setup state for Workday. So starting with NIH, SNAP awards, those are the most pretty common as well as pretty straightforward. So the unique elements is usually, or we only require 1 award line. And that's because we can commingle award authorizations as well as expenditures across multiple budget periods. One of the components of an NIH SNAP award is that there's only 1 final financial report that's required at the end of the competitive segment. And so you'll only see one final financial report award task within Workday. And then NIH SNAP awards are also unique in that they have automatic carryover between those budget periods, as well as competitive segments, so between those awards within Workday. Workday award setup, it starts with a new award setup request, establishes an award line, and then after that, there is supplement and extension modification requests that add funding and extend that existing award line, and then that final financial report task. Can you go to the next slide, please, Michelle? Here's kind of the crosswalk. So before, if you're familiar, we had new funding actions that would establish a budget number. We would get that year 1 for that NIH SNAP award of funding, and we would set up the budget number, the start and end dates for that budget number for the full 5-year, usually 5-year competitive segment. And then what would happen is then we would get supplement funding actions after that for years 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 for kind of a simple construction. And we would add those funds to your existing budget number. In Workday, it's a little bit different insofar as we'll get an award setup request similar to that new funding action. We establish the award as well as the award line itself where spending it happens for year 1. And the change is that our award line start and end dates are equal to just that year 1 budget period. And then what happens is we will get supplement and extension modifications to add funding for years 2 through 5. And in each one of those, as part of each one of those modifications, we extend that end date based on that budget period. Next slide, please. So I wanted to quickly demonstrate Workday, but before that, I'm wondering if there are any questions. There's a couple of them. Okay, I think I can answer a few of these things within this demo. So I'll share my screen really quick and we can go into the award demo. Okay, hopefully everybody sees my screen. I have this NIH award. I got approval to use all these awards, so thank you to everybody who gave me some examples out on campus. It's an NIH award, and what you'll see in the overview tab is going to be both the NIH sponsor, and then you'll see what's unique about these ones is you don't see a billing schedule. And that's because when you look in the billing and receivables tab, you see that this payment type is letter of credit. So all of our letter of credit awards, you'll see this in the billing and receivables, and you won't see a billing schedule. In a couple examples later, we'll see some that actually have billing schedules set up. The next is I want to look at the award line. So this is a single award line. So we have, for this award structure, right, we have this unique award number, which is the shell, more or less, and it houses all of these various award lines. And for an NIH award, an NIH SNAP award specifically, we only need to have one single award line. This has a start and end date that's related to the full competitive segment. And so, like I was referring to before, the old way when we had new and renewal funding actions and supplements, you were able to set up this award line or budget number in the past for the full competitive segment. Someone had asked something about how does the grant GR number relate to an award line? And it's a 1-for-1 relationship. So for when I say award line, I'm specifically referring to this grant work tag. And so this unique identifier is going to be essentially the prior state budget number. This is where all the expenditures are going to be related to this particular funding allocation. So you see this 737361, that's the amount of funding that has been allocated to this given award line for spend. You also have some billing amounts here, which means that letter of credit draws have been taking place as expenditures are posting. Hopefully that answers that question. Another key point that I wanted to show is when you are in the award lines tab, and you come to this third section here, it brings you to kind of a different view. And one of the really important components of NIH SNAP awards is that they have automatic carry forward, as well as it has the SNAP designation and expanded authority. And to get within each of our award lines, we have award line special conditions. And you find and can look at what your special conditions are for one of your award lines or multiple award lines by clicking on this additional or related actions button here, the Twinkie, additional data, and view all. And what you'll see is that these are custom objects that that the FT team and Grant Award to Close team created for our different awards. And what you'll see here in this UW award line special conditions, it houses the important key components. So in this case, automatic carry forward, this snap designation here, and expanded authority. Quickly point out that if you don't see something listed here, so if there's no automatic carry forward, there's no expanded authority, there's no snap, it's all blank, that means that those conditions don't apply. So the only time that you may have automatic carry forward, you may have carry forward is subject to sponsor limitations, those would be listed here if that applies to your award. If it's not, that means that carry forward is restricted and that you don't have expanded authorities and it's not a SNAP award. Jonathan, is there any questions related to this so far?
Related to this, I don't think so. We do have a number of questions, but nothing particularly about this.
Okay. I may circle back because those may be more high-level general questions. Okay, so here's the award lines, like I was saying. That's how you get to these award line level special conditions. And I'll come back now to another key component is the award tasks. Award tasks here, and there's only one, and it's the final financial report, the SF425. It's for the whole period here. And I kind of just want to point out that you can equate basically your award tasks. They should be related to your award lines. And so you have a start date and an end date for this award task, 8/15/2021, 6/30/2026. When I come to this given award line, there's only one, thankfully, but you see that aligns with the start and end dates. So really, when you're looking at your award tasks, the way that you kind of start grouping is based on the end date of that task. Usually has a correlation, or the start and end date will kind of outline the start and end dates for your award lines. And so basically you're going to include in your financial report all the award lines that are within this range, basically. This one's a really simple one, but you'll see it gets a little bit more hairy as we get through some other examples.
Hey Vince, I have one that is topical.
Okay.
I think it touches on the difference between like SNAP budgets and other budgets that have that don't maybe have the carryover. So the question comes: so previously renewal budget numbers might be generated from year to year. Can we expect that the GR number will remain the same throughout the total award period?
Yeah, it's a good question. You will not. So it's really the reporting, the requirements from our sponsors really are going to dictate how we need to split up our awards. In this case, there's just a final report for this NIH SNAP award. And because carry forward is automatic and there's only one final report due at the end, we can smush it all together. And so you'll need to have one award line in this case. The next example that I'll show, you have multiple award lines because of the reporting requirements. And so the award tasks and the award requirements, whether it be a final financial report, final invoices, that's really going to dictate how you have to split up your award allocations and how many award lines you may need. It's a good question. I think it'll be more enlightening as we see the next example. Okay, on kind of a related note, so this is an example of a converted award where we set up the start and end dates of this award line equal to the competitive segment, and it aligns with the start and end dates of the financial report. The new way for any new NIH SNAP awards or similar sponsors, what'll happen is we'll get year one, we'll set up the award line just for year one because we've only received the year one allocations or approvals from NIH. And what'll happen is sometimes we know that there are delays in funding. And so if you are trying to decide, do I submit a temporary internal extension mod, or do I submit a request for an advance award line? And really the underpinning of it is it has to do with the SNAP designation and the reporting requirements. So pretty simply, if you have a SNAP award, you'll just need to request a temporary internal extension. Because if you're waiting for year 2 or year 3 or year 4 or year 5 of that competitive segment, and it's just a timing issue, you can request that temporary internal extension so we can kick out the end date of your award line. You can keep spending and keep putting on different expenditures, whether it be payroll or supplies, whatever you need. And then once that funding comes in, what will happen is we will add an additional amount of funding to your award line based on your expectations or your requests from that SAGE budget. We'll update the end date to another year. And then we'll also update the end date for the award task and kick it out another year. And so we're going to continue to see these both supplement and extension mods will supplement and extend an existing award line. Any questions on that? Okay. I think I'll stop share, Michelle, and I think you can pick up for the next example. Okay, now we have a HRSA award. I know it's not NIH, but for non-SNAP, it is kind of like a non-SNAP award. And you can the unique elements is there's multiple one-year award lines. There is annual and final financial reports that are required. And in this case, the sponsor carryover terms is subject to sponsor limitations. I'll cover these next. So next slide, please, Michelle. And so prior to Workday, we would get a new funding action. It would establish the budget for year 1. The budget start and end dates would just be based on that budget period. So usually a 1-year period. And we'd have a financial report that's due at the end of year 1. And then what would happen for all of these is we would get a renewal funding action for years 2 through 5. We would set up for every year. So for year 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, we would set up a new budget number. The activities would have to take place, all the expenditures and things would have to take place in that given budget number. And then a final report would be due, or a financial report would be due at the end of each of those years. So years 1 through 5 would require separate budget numbers and separate financial reports. Now for Workday, an award setup request is going to set up that award and then the first year award line. Kind of same construction. An annual report is going to be due. And then what will happen subsequently is we will receive supplement and extension mods. For when we receive each of those mods, we'll see that carry forward that's not SNAP. We can't commingle the funding, that we see that annual reports are required. And so what that'll do is for us to set up a brand new award line for the department. We'll also put a new annual financial report award task for these years. In the very end, we'll have a final financial report award task due at the end of year 5. Go to the next slide, please. Okay, so I'll jump in and share screen again. Let's see. Okay. Come here. It is this one. So we have this HRSA award, and I'll first just show it's an LOC award. There's no billing schedule. I'll come to the award lines, and you see that there are multiple, right? So you have started its life. Award line 1 was a single year period, 7/1/2021 to 6/30/2022. We had another one that had the same approach. And then you have a renewal award line. Also had a similar time period of that one above. And then we have this most recent one that we have created. It has an idea of 6/30/2024. And in the award tasks, you'll see that there are not just one, because it's not a SNAP award. Instead, there are 3. In kind of the approach, again, we see the start and end date of the award task. it's related to line 1. You see this award line reference here. And so when I come back, you see that for our financial report, we will need to include all of the award lines that have start and end dates within that first year, 7/1/2021 to 6/30/2022. And that includes award lines 1 and award lines 2. And that same construction right is going to be happening for line 3. So this is the second one coming due at the end of September. And so the reporting team is going to essentially use these 2 award lines and the expenditures related to construct that financial report for year 2 that's due to HRSA. And then the final award task here, it's yet to be completed. It won't be done until next year, but that has a reference of line 5. And in this case, there's not another award line that's similar. In this case, there were 2 for year 1, 2 for year 2, and 1 for year 3. The department may or may not set up another award line. Now from here, I wanted to show you, if you come to award lines and come to the 3rd tab, you can find the award line special conditions and additional data, view all. And again, you see a couple differences. You see carryover as subject to sponsor limitations, and then you see expanded authority. HRSA is a sponsor where they have a unique carryover term that if the unspent balance is greater than 25% of the award amount or greater than 250,000, whatever one is less, then carry forward is an automatic. But if it's less than those thresholds, then you can carry all the funds forward and have them available in the subsequent year. So that's kind of what this carryover subject to sponsor limitations is. And HRSA is also a DHHS award, and it has expanded authority in this one. What you don't see is the SNAP designation, because this isn't a SNAP award, it's not NIH. And so because the absence of that SNAP designation, as well as the fact that we have these annual report tasks, that's why we have these various award lines that need to be created for each of these discrete budget periods. I'll go one kind of similar to what I was talking about before. So in your SNAP example, because everything could be put together in one single award line, you would request a temporary internal extension for if you're waiting on funding for year 2 or year 3 or year 4. For this particular award, this HRSA award, because we need to submit an annual financial report each year, what you'll actually be requesting if, for example, funding never came in, is delayed for this period and you want to set some of the costing allocations or get started on the research on the expenditure side, you would request an advance award line to that ADV process within Sage. So it's a difference. Because we need to segregate and separate the expenditures, you'll need to request an award line be established for the next year. Jonathan, are there any specific questions about this one?
Yeah, I think one that is pretty general, or that would touch on, because I know there's been a lot of different lines. How can we tell if an award line is a sub-budget or a subcontract? Is there a recommended naming convention for sub-budgets? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. So when we were in FIN, or I guess Grant Tracker, right, you could kind of go between prior budget and continuation budget. You can do that here as well. And so another custom field within this award line is going to be additional data. You see award line related grants, and it shows you what the continuation grant work tag is. And so this was what we used in our old state within FAS to link. And so that when you were looking in Grant Tracker, you could source forward and backwards. If you want to see that relationship, it'll be here. And so this here, it says continuation grant. So I was looking at the very first award line and the continuation grant, GR 13973. Just want to make sure I'm not getting this wrong. Yep. And so you'll see the relationship. So this was, if you're thinking about it in the old way, this was the parent budget. This was the sub. This was the parent budget. This is the new, like, renewal parent budget, and this was the sub. It's harder to see that in Workday though, because we don't have that parent sub relationship like we did in Grant Tracker. We now have the award orchestration, and all of these award lines are going to be coming down. What I can say, and I'm kind of ping-ponging a little bit around, but the company here is one mechanism you can see. So the company at the overview is going to be kind of the primary award lines company, or like the parent budget. And so if you have UW 1861 versus School of Medicine, that can maybe be used to delineate potentially parent and sub relationships.
It has a different line description.
That's true. Yeah, so these are the naming conventions, right, that we use.
So just to clarify, would you recommend when we set up a sub budget that we include the word sub somewhere in the GR description? And for subcontracts, is there anything, I don't know what description comes over for those. Is it the name of the sub awardee? Because it seems like we can do something to help ourselves.
Yeah. Let me pull up something really quick. We do have set naming conventions. So for in your case, Marissa, we have, like, for a sub award as an example, you would put sub award in your Sage budget worksheet title, and so that distinguishes. So here, I'll pull this up really quick. I can send this later, but there's a prefix list. So sub award, cost share, program income, fabrication, participant support. Those are the standard prefixes. This is a standard prefix list that we have. And so if you want to set up an award line for a sub award, it should have this in the title. It should start with sub award, and then it could have anything you want. It could be sub award UCLA 5375. It could be same with cost share, same with program income, same with fabrication, and same with participant support.
So is the subcontract group then appending the words subcontract onto our subcontracts? I heard that we have a separate line for each subcontract. Is that correct?
Yeah, so your Sage budget worksheet should be outlining the amounts of the subaward that you're allocating to that discrete subaward award line.
Okay.
And so that's really up to you what other naming conventions you use, but you should have subaward in your Sage budget worksheet name at the beginning.
And then for sub budgets to other departments, we could just add the word sub in the short title.
Yes.
When we're asking for them.
Yeah, like this one's a pretty simple one, right? This was the BIPOC learning UW-T. Those were kind of what is like the visual descriptor. So I would say you can use whatever naming convention that's going to help you delineate which one you're looking for.
Okay, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
And on that, I just want to add the converted subcontracts all came over with the subcontract ID number, not the name. Yeah. That's how they did that. So if you know the subcontract ID, you can search in a word portal by the grant name and you'll be able to find it.
Any other questions about? See a few questions in here, but I don't know if they're specific to.
There's a couple I think we can answer, Vince. One of them is if you want a temporary budget extension, that is a mod.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then the second kind of right off of that is, well, how do you know if you have a temporary budget extension in place. And I think one thing that Workday actually is doing really well is it will change your status. And instead in Fin, we changed your date and nobody kind of knew that you had a temporary budget extension, but now there's a status that says temporary budget extension. So it's really clear when we've processed it.
Yes. Okay, I think I can stop share. I can go on to the next example if there are not more questions. Okay, this is a multi-year award, and it's specifically a fixed amount award. It's American Heart Association. The unique elements, multiple one-year award lines, so similar to that non-SNAP designation. There's a single billing schedule that covers all years. It's an annual financial report requirement, and carry forward is restricted. And then Workday award setup. I'll cover that in the next slide. Okay, so before the old way, we would get a new funding action, and because the award setup team was aware of the American Heart Association's requirements for reporting purposes, we would usually what we used to do is establish a quote unquote dummy parent. It was just kind of a header parent because we didn't have an award structure. And then underneath them, there would be sub-budgets for each of the annual reporting periods. And so if it was a 2-year American Heart Association award, you would see a dummy parent, and then you would see 2 sub-budgets underneath it with the relevant budget periods as well as the budget period allocations. You would have a budget start and end date. Then you'd have a financial report that was due for each of those budgets. And so for year 1 as well as year 2, this example, and then you'd have a single billing schedule. So all the billing would happen. It didn't need to happen on each of the award lines that are for year 1 or year 2. They can happen kind of at the parent level. And for Workday, within Sage and Workday, you're going to be getting an award setup request. It'll establish the award and all of the award lines for each year of funding. We don't require for new award setups a need for a dummy parent anymore, because we can essentially manage that with our new award structure. The award line start and end dates equal the budget periods. You'll see annual and final financial reports due, and it's called agency annual final report, the report task. And the same thing, single billing schedule. Next slide, please. And I'll share my screen and go into another example here. So, six, 9, 3, here we go. Okay, so on the overview tab, we see that there is a single billing schedule, the JDE contract. And this is going to be the first one that we see kind of billing happening. And so in this billing and receivables, it has the JDE contract information again. Instead of LOC, we had 2 LOC ones that we saw previously. Now we have payment type of check. That just means that we're invoicing our sponsors. In this case, American Heart Association is a quote unquote schedule payment or a fixed amount award. And so they set the schedule. They say, we're going to send you maybe $231,000. We're going to split those installments up in equal amounts, and we'll send those to you at these set intervals. So I'll come here, the overview tab, just to kind of show everyone the schedule. So this is kind of the billing schedule that we see. So we have the amounts, we have the invoice due dates, and these would be aligning with that schedule payment schedule that the American Heart Association outlined to us. And so you'll see over this 3-year period, they have this schedule that they have set. This is going to be outlining kind of what payments we can expect to come in the door. Like I said, this isn't a milestone situation. These are scheduled payments. So as long as we're kind of on track, they're going to be sending us those payments. And so you don't see any installment milestones that are connected to this given billing schedule. Is there any questions about this so far? This is where I think it gets a little hairy. You're on mute,
There
Jonathan.
doesn't seem to be anything
Okay.
about this particular process. We have some other questions, but the Fawn and Cheryl are chipping away at them in the chat. So
Okay. So then I will highlight this the award lines now. So similar to what I was saying before, this is a converted award. We used to have a dummy parent, and it was for the full 3-year period in this case, and then we'd have each of these sub budgets that would house the allocations. So you see in here, the current amount is $0 because what we did is we parsed out those funding allocations to each of the, in this case, award lines. So this was award line for year 1, this is award line for year 2, and this is award line for year 3. All of them are 77,000. I wanted to show in this billing schedule, right? When the award setup team sets up our billing schedules, one of the requirements is to essentially link that billing schedule to the related award lines. And so in this case, this JD contract 41501, it's a converted JD reference, our old invoicing system. But in essence, right, it shows you that each of these award lines is covered by this particular billing schedule. That's important because that separation is different for other sponsors that are invoiced. Okay, so then I'll come to the award tasks. And what you see is we have annual financial reports that are due. We already have one completed. It was completed for the period ended 3/31/2023. And you see 4/1/2023 to 3/31/2024 is the next period, and it was due 6/30/2024. It will be due. This award line linking, I think, is an important piece of it. And so you'll see line 2. I'll duplicate this. So this particular report task, annual financial report, is linked to a specific award line within Workday. And so you see, if I come to this award line view, it's award line number 2. And so this is where all the spending should be associated. This is a simple example because there's not multiple award lines for that same reporting period. What I want to point out is that when there's a 1-for-1 relationship, that's how you'll see the linking set up. Line 2 is related to this period. Line 3 is related to this period. This award line here. And then line 4 is linked to that year 3 financial report. Okay. Let's see if I'm missing anything. Oh, I'll go to the award lines now. I wanted to show you the award line special conditions that are associated. So you'll come here. Again, award lines, the 3rd tab over will get you to this additional data. So these custom objects. And there's no award line special conditions here. And so essentially you can assume that carryover between the periods, because it doesn't say automatic, that it's restricted in that case. Okay. Let's see. I think that rounds out this one because it only has reporting tasks. In our case, this billing schedule, you come here, you just see the breakdown is there's no invoice milestones. And so these are just kind of this is the payment schedule. And these are going to be aligning, the due dates are going to be aligning with that award document. Okay. Okay, I'll stop.
Before
Yes.
you, I wanna, there was a question that was asked in the chat about the payment. And I know it's a little bit confusing with the payments and where you can see it. But so what we did with the conversion under the additional reports tab, if you can go to that, Vince.
Oh, sorry. Yep.
So any open invoice any invoice that was open at the time of conversion would actually show up here. So it makes it really easy to see if an open invoice did come through. So if you see something here, it means that it wasn't paid pre-conversion. It being here, now you can see still that it's an unpaid status. Everything else, you should be able to assume that it got paid previously in the legacy system. So that's kind of a really good way to tell if something has been paid or not, pre-conversion versus post-conversion. Anything new would show up in your billing and receivables tab.
Okay. Any other questions on this example? No. Okay. Michelle, take it away. Okay, now we have the most complex one, I suppose, in this example, these examples. It is a multi-year milestone award. It's with Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. So in this case, there's multiple one-year award lines, unique billing schedule that's associated with each year, annual financial reports, and we also have restricted carryover. If you go to the next slide, Michelle, please. Okay, so prior process, we would get this new funding action. It would establish year one of funding. The start and end dates would be related to year one. We'd have a billing schedule for that year. The completion of milestones are what spur payments from our sponsor. And so if it's, completing a progress report or completing the final financial report for that year, that would be what spurs payment. And then we also have this agency financial report that's due at the end of year one. And what would happen is we would have, depending on the length of this particular award for this project, you would have renewal funding actions for 1 or 2 or 3 years. It kind of just depends. It would be the same kind of construction where you're setting up a new budget number, setting up a new billing schedule, and the milestones, and the final report would be due and associated with that given year of funding. And in Workday, we're going to be getting an award setup request. It'll establish the award and the award line for year one. And we would, again, the dates are just for year one, set up an agency annual financial report due at the end of year one, and then the milestones are going to be completed. And then similar to that non-SNAP construction, right, we're going to have to establish an award line for each of the years of funding. Subsequently, they would basically just follow the start and end dates of the year of funding that was received. And I think the next slide will just be this demo, so I'll jump into that. Zero, 3, 1, yeah. Okay. So in the overview tab, we have our Cystic Fibrosis Foundation award here. In this case, we have 2 billing schedules. So JD contract 36377 and then 38126. You'll have, this is a unique one. It has an award calendar here that has 2 periods. And that's because we had to separate that funding between those 2 periods. You'll see here at the award calendar level. So period 1 is a 1-year period. So 11/1/2019 to 10/31/2020. And period 2 is actually a little bit different. It started, the day after year 1 ended, but it actually extended more than a single year. In this case, it extended 3 years. They got a series of extensions associated with this particular award. At the award line level, you see these various award lines. You have the start and end dates. And this billing schedule is going to be, this reference is going to help determine the segregation that needs to happen for purposes of invoicing, as well as for purposes of reporting. And so JD contract 36377, that was the old JD contract reference, that applied to this particular one, these two award lines, and then the second applied here. And what you'll see on the award tasks is a little bit more involved. Let me really quickly though, I'll show, just to be consistent, I'll show for year one, I'll show the special or the custom objects. So these award line special conditions, there's nothing that says carry forward is automatic. It's all blank. And so this is not one that has automatic carry forward. You do see some of the continuation references here that were converted from our legacy system. Okay, so next, moving on to the award tasks, there are a number of them, and you have a mix. You have both invoice milestone award tasks and agency final reports. I like to usually distinguish them just so it creates a little bit more structure. But in this case, we only have 2 reports that are due. We have an agency final report. It has start and end dates of this, and it's related to line 1. So when you are here, that clearly shows that they're related to this time period. So this award task relates to these 2 award lines. The same for this one. It covers a period of 3 years, and it's related to the bottom 2 award tasks because the start and end dates of those award lines fall into the time frame of that award task. This is a unique one. Here, I'll come back here. And I'll just sort for the invoice milestones. I think this is important, given that it's where I selected it. So there's 12 items in this list, and it's showing 10 of the 12, just the milestone or the invoice milestone pieces. And what you'll see, and the reason I'm pointing this out is that you'll be able to see who these invoices or the invoice milestones are the responsibility of department contacts. And so notifying GCA about, this milestone is completed and we can bill for it, or this milestone is completed that was due on 12/2/2020. That would be an important piece to know about where you are in your award, because these milestones, the completion of them are going to be what spurs those payments from our sponsors. Are there any questions about this before I move on?
No, nothing on the invoice.
Okay. I wanted to quickly show the JD contracts and kind of the linking to those milestones. So I'll come to the most recent one. Pull up JD contract. This is the billing information. It has, things about like the bill to address, some of the central emails and stuff like that. But in addition, what it does is it has the summary of the various installment lines, and it has the amounts as well. And so what you'll see is it'll show you the status of these different lines, and then it also shows you where the pending milestone is. And so this pending milestone, if I duplicate this and go back to my award tasks, this incomplete or not started invoice milestone is related to this $33,750 payment. It's not due for a while. This is more than likely associated with a completion of a progress report as well as a final financial report. So I guess, wanted to show that linkage that when you have a milestone, you'll see the installment milestones and it'll have this reference, because part of that award setup process is to link the installments with the associated milestone invoice award tasks. Okay. Marissa, I saw your question, so I'll answer it real time. So, and I think you're asking about, like, in general, is there any job aids around like the construction of awards and like what our approach is?
Well, kind of also what's in this demo, how to navigate, if you're looking at certain things, how it's structured and also how to navigate in Workday.
Yeah.
Like you're doing right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or,
Yeah. So I can answer that. So Gretchen, anyway, one of the department contacts had suggested that we kind of have this approach of like, these are some standard constructions of awards, and then how the setup is informed by some of those award attributes. And so this is kind of the first part, and I think that this will inform kind of the standard work that we have. So my goal is to have documentation that would lead you through, okay, this is the construction of a simple NIH, give you some screenshots, show you where you can look for certain details. And then it would also have some guidance as to, okay, well, for an NIH award, what do and I don't have, year 2 of funding in yet, what do I do? Because I want to keep spending. And so that would be kind of the jump off point of, oh, okay, you have a SNAP award, you're going to request a temporary internal extension mod, versus a non-SNAP where carrier forward maybe is restricted and we have to have, those discrete periods reported on. Those would necessitate an advanced award line. Yeah, so that's the goal, Marissa. Yeah.
thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and what is the role assignments tab? And that little orange circle? And is it the grant manager?
Yeah, so right now in this case, this is this should be the role assignment. If the milestone is a responsibility of the department contact, the role assignment should be reflecting that department grant manager. So you'll see Nikki here. As an example, if I come down to this agency final report, this is a GCA reporting requirement, and we complete those, the administrative components of it, so doing a final invoice or final report. You don't see the grant manager listed here because we don't need any input about the completion from the department. So yeah, when you see 3 here, okay, maybe that wasn't a good example. This was a better one. I'm not sure why why she wasn't listed here, but
It was at
yeah.
the top, Vince, for whatever
Okay.
reason. I don't know why it listed it
Oh,
at
it
the
is
top
here. Okay.
instead. It was weird.
Okay.
And does that come from Sage?
So
And you can move on if we can find out later if it's
it's
messing
the
up
no, it's this is actually important. So it's the security hierarchy that you choose and delineate. And so that's a required component for setup. The security hierarchy is really going to be what dictates who gets and who's responsible for those notifications.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other questions? I know the chat is kind of long.
I think we're right about at time too, Vince.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, sorry.
It's hot.
Okay, So just to wrap up, a quick announcement on our future forum. It's currently planned for November, so more details to come as we approach the month. And then as usual, we have our forum slides on our website, so please check it out if you'd like. And then we're also going to post a recording of today's session, maybe sometime today or tomorrow.
And we have a public service announcement before we go too far to the end here. And that is, if you want to grab some lunch and then at 1 o'clock, come join the SAGE team for their office hours. It's been super helpful and you get a pretty good crew in there to kind of answer, and you can be asking specific questions about, like, I don't know, last time seemed to be all about BPOs and stuff. But highly recommend the SAGE office hours. We put the links here, but you can also, if you go to the SAGE website, like this is just in an hour, you can get in there and it's like you don't have to, you can just pop in and kind of hear what people are asking.
I'm going to go ahead and just jump in. For the question and answers, I am going to go ahead and compile them all so that, you know, we have a nice Q&A format. I think we got most of the stuff here, but if there's anything that we missed, or if we need to get some more details, it might take us a little bit longer. So it won't get posted today or tomorrow, but sometime next week we'll have this sent out to everybody, so that'll be available.
Great. Thanks, John. And then just
Tim
finally,
just put the office hours in there.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then we can be reached through award portal, email, or our phone number listed here. Thanks, everyone.
Hang in there.